Talking with the experts.
In episode 404, Julia Langley discusses how nervousness and fear gets in the way of becoming a confident presenter.
I was not. At a very young age, I can remember experiencing excruciating social awkwardness when I would have to talk specifically with one-on-one. My tongue would be tied. I wouldn't know what to say. I would fear being judged, fear looking dumb, making mistakes. And here I sit before you today, 20 countries all around the world. You can get past that. You can work past that. And that is actually what I help people do. There's a couple of things that I can just say right off the bat. The preparation is so very important when we're getting ready. And I know you, as a host of a show, you have things that you want people to do. And this is just wonderful because it helps you prepare. It helps them prepare. Preparation is key in a performance.
Talking with the experts.
Talking with the Experts would love to acknowledge Global Glamping Charities Incorporated for generously supporting this podcast. Global Glamping Charities, solving homelessness in all of its forms. Reach out to them at globalglamping.org.
Welcome to Talking with the Experts. This is where we discuss great ideas to take your business to the next level. How do we know these ideas work? Well, it's because we're talking with business owners who are using these ideas. Business owners who have years of experience and expertise. All things business by business owners for business owners. And now, here is your host, Rose Davidson.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. I'm your host, Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners. You can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. My next guest, Julia Langley, she's just an amazing human. She's going to be discussing with us commanding confident, lucrative keynotes without the nervousness. Now, a little bit about Julia. She is a featured singer with Cirque du Soleil. Now, that's amazing. And she has performed in over 20 different countries and in all 50 states over a period of 18 years. One of the things that she's most passionate about is helping speakers and coaches who struggle with nervousness and fear learn how to give confident, commanding keynotes. Julia's transformative program helps entrepreneurs get the big paydays they deserve by overcoming fear, landing top-tier clients, and being recognised worldwide for their expertise. And she had a bit of a turnaround in her journey, so we'll discuss that a little bit later on. Julia, welcome, and thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to talking with you. Very excited about our conversation tonight.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Now tell me, how did you go from being a singer to being a coach?
Well, it's not really a far stretch. As a matter of fact, it's something I've been doing. I've been a singer my whole life. I've been in the public eye. I've been standing on stage, speaking or singing or some type of performing since the age of 2 years old. So yeah. So after doing it with Cirque for 18 years, I want to expand my business. I don't really call it pivoting. I just call it the next step in the journey, actually an expansion into coaching, using the expertise that I've gained all through the years to really help others who aspire to do the same thing. Those who want to stand up on stage, who really want to be recognized. They have these gifts within them, but they don't know how to use them. And they don't really know how to take what that unique part of their self and really put it out there so others can get to know them and can experience their amazingness all over the world. So again, not a far stretch. It was just really a natural progression in my career and really something that I've wanted to do all along.
Yeah. Some people have a calling and they seem to just fall into it, due to circumstances, whether it's of their choosing or not. And now, we discussed earlier before we came on, about my reticence to be able to get up and speak publicly. Although I can do the podcast very well, but I still don't like to speak in public on a stage, and I certainly don't like to do Facebook Lives. So how do we, gain that confidence? What tricks have we got that you can share with us?
Well, I was saying this earlier, 75% of the people out there experience some kind of anxiety, nervousness, or fear before they step on the stage. It is a fear that is so strong. It's right up there with spiders. Okay. I can compare public speaking to spiders. But the truth of the matter is that you're not stuck in that place of fear. And very quickly, I mean, as a Cirque du Soleil performer, as a singer, a professional speaker, you think, oh, it comes easy. They see you up on the stage and they think, yeah, you were just born doing this kind of thing. No, I'm here to tell you I was not. At a very young age, I can remember experiencing excruciating social awkwardness when I would have to talk specifically with one-on-one. My tongue would be tied. I wouldn't know what to say. I would fear being judged, fear looking dumb, making mistakes. And here I sit before you today, 20 countries all around the world. You can get past that. You can work past that. And that is actually what I help people do. There's a couple of things that I can just say right off the bat. The preparation is so very important when we're getting ready. And I know you, as a host of a show, you have things that you want people to do. And this is just wonderful because it helps you prepare. It helps them prepare. Preparation is key in a performance. Okay. It also raises your confidence level just a little bit when you step into something. And quite often people just don't do the work beforehand. Okay. So that's something simple that we can take within our control and we can start working on immediately. The other thing is, I always say, get some help, get some feedback from people. Very important when you are when you're looking at stepping out on the stage. As you continue to do it, you practice it in front of the mirror, you practice it in front of your friends, and all of a sudden you're successful at a small thing, right? And you start to gain a little bit of confidence as you do something bigger. And then you do the same thing. You prepare, you practice, you step out there, and all of a sudden you've got confidence on something a little bigger. This continues and it grows. It's a process. And until the next thing you know it, you're like walking out on stage. You don't even have to know the questions ahead of time. You know what you're going to say. You know what's inside you, and you aren't afraid to use your voice to let it out. And that is a lot of personal work that is required in that. Is understanding, first of all, that what you have to say is important, that you're important, the world needs your voice, and that you're not weird or odd, or maybe you are weird, but it's a good thing, not a bad thing, And we all have to come to terms with those quirky things about ourselves that we feel like doesn't fit in. But oftentimes those are not the things that keep us from fitting in. Those are the things that make us stand out in a good way. We're just too afraid to be vulnerable and step out there and use it. So these are just a few things that go into the process of overcoming that fear, but it is very doable for people. It can be done. The biggest thing is taking that first step out. That's the hardest part.
Yeah. It's a bit like stepping off, like bungee jumping or stepping off the highest diving board, or, it's...
I liken it akin to, I actually heard someone say this the other day, rappelling down a mountain. You kind of have to go off backwards. And once you're on the side of the mountain, you're fine. You're going down the mountain. It's like going backwards and taking that first leap off.
Yeah.
It's like scary. You're going into the unknown. You can't see what's ahead of you, but you do have to trust that it is within your reach. It is possible. And once you believe that it's possible, then you can take those steps to start to make it happen and working through it.
Now, there's a lot of coaches out there that, not only teach stage presence and confidence, but, also the body language, like the past is on the right and the future is on the left, and, how you're supposed to stand and all those things. Is that really important? Do you need to remember all of those things as well as trying to, remember a 1 hour keynote?
I would like to tell you that it's not important, so you don't have to worry about it. But the truth is, it is very important. Now, we can take things to an extreme, and I want to step back as a performance coach, and this applies to actors, singers, speakers, entrepreneurs, anyone that steps out on the stage. You can, if you're so concerned with every time your hand moves, what happens is you become robotic, all right? But there are certain keys that you have to do, all right, to present yourself. There's certain things that are going to make or break your performance, and they have to be done because body language is 80% of it. If people are uncomfortable with how you are handling your space and your body, they're not going to listen to what's coming out of your mouth. So it's very important that you establish that comfortable body language up front. And there's keys like for example, the way you sit in a camera. We can turn just slightly and then turn back to the audience. And that gives us a nice view of the camera. It gives us a nice line to our body. There's just some little tricks, little simple tricks that we can do. You mentioned earlier you had a picture up over your camera when you're doing online work. I love that. And so many people, they don't do that, but that's a great idea because especially in this virtual world that we're working in now, people forget there are people on the other side of that camera. There are people listening. There are people talking to you. So you're not just talking to a camera, you're talking to people. And it's easy to forget that in the virtual world as well.
Yeah, it is. And that was a tip from a friend of mine. She said, if you don't like speaking to the camera, then just put a funny face up there. It doesn't matter what it looks like. Just put it above your camera and stare at that and just imagine that it's somebody that you know. It hasn't worked yet, but I'm getting better at it.
Better at it, yeah. No, that's hilarious. It really is presentation. How you're presenting yourself is so important. Again, it's putting your audience at ease. You want people to listen to you. So that body language that you're presenting, if you're slumped, I'm sitting like this and I'm talking about confidence, no one's going to believe that I'm confident. Okay. Very important. All right. That's just one example of the many.
Yeah. I sometimes when it's late at night and I'm doing an interview and I think, and I'm looking at myself there on the screen and I think, God, that's just a terrible look. They're not going to think, you're not going to have a good time with me at all. So it's like, sitting up and taking that chest out and shoulders back and even if you're not using your hands, because I love to talk with my hands and it gets I get really enthused and so I try and I put them in front of me and just hold on for dear life.
You know what? I think that's hilarious what you're saying. And yes, we do. Sometimes we don't feel like, there are so many times where I remember getting up to perform where I've had 2 hours of sleep. I've traveled, I'm jet lagged. And you still the show goes on. The show doesn't stop just because you're not feeling it in that particular moment. And, I chose that business. I chose my life as an entrepreneur now, as a speaker, as an entertainer. And so that's, I think that's the small price to have to pay, though, to do what you love and to have the freedom that this life brings to you. So
Yeah, I love my podcast. I think it's I've met, like, I think you're about my 404th guest,
oh
and
my goodness.
I just, I've met so many, well, 404 people I wouldn't have met otherwise, and
That's right.
it's an amazing platform, podcasting, and I can only imagine what it's like to travel and speak around the world and share what you love with people.
Well, that's right. Well, you're doing it really and truly. You are doing it. I love the podcast world too, simply because it make the world so much of a smaller place. I'm in the States. I'm on the East Coast. You are in Australia. I mean, we would never have had this conversation. So it's really an amazing thing, being able to use your voice, being able to speak, being able to talk about your passion, your business, how you feel like you've been called to make a difference in the world. And it's giving us a platform to do that. And that's what I'm passionate about, particularly when I'm talking to other people, whether they be a client or whether I'm just talking in general, is that your voice is your superpower, right? You choose whether to use that superpower or not. You choose how to use that superpower. But it is, you can move mountains with nothing but a voice. Hey, they wrote a whole Disney movie about it called The Little Mermaid. The importance of your voice is very important. And not being afraid to step
and
out.
voice is important. I mean, if you have a platform that you are truly aligned with and that you truly believe in, and if you don't use your voice to promote that particular platform, no one's going to know.
Be the world's best kept secret. Nobody wants to be the
Absolutely.
world's best kept secret.
I mean, there's so many, because I'm really into domestic and family violence prevention, and I've just been made the podcast producer and content manager for an Australian charity that is trying to prevent homelessness amongst domestic violence survivors, or people that have been in a natural disaster, or people that are suffering from economic homelessness, because people that are in business and aren't doing so well, or they've lost their job and might lose their house, so they're trying to help people in that way. And I love that space because it's really heart-centered and I love to help people. And so but I've always thought about getting out and speaking about it, but nerves prevent me, because you're right, people feel like they're imposters.
They do.
And they feel like they're being judged, and they feel like no one's really listening and no one really cares. So how those things are, self-confidence, and so how can we build our self-confidence other than as the things that you said about before, about preparing and so forth?
Well, honestly, part of building that self-confidence is getting out there and starting small and finding those successes small. It's very, very important that you do that. And when I work with clients in particular, this is the things that we work on. We find these things that we can do that we be successful at, right? That you find your success. If you can find that, then you can start to grow that confidence. It will grow naturally. All right. And then you've got someone standing there telling you, you're doing this really, really well. You need to do more of that. More of that, less of this. Okay. And as you start to find your niche, you find what makes you special, you find that glow within and how to let it out. Take the light that's inside you and let it shine. And that's the key. All right. Because first of all, we think we have to be great at everything, and we're not. None of us are. All right. So we have to understand what our limitations are too. And so as working with it, again, singers, I run into this sometimes with singers, and I do have some singers that are clientele, a lot of speakers, a lot of coaches that I work with, but even with singers, I'll get someone in that's has a voice like this, very deep, very colorful voice, and they want to sing, high soprano, and they're just not built to do it. So that's a perfect example. Speaking is the same thing. You have to be true to your craft. Once you start to understand what makes you stand out, what makes you unique, and learn how to use that uniqueness in a positive way, then that's when your confidence starts to go, I have something to offer. I have something to give the world. Who knew? It's been there the whole time. It just wasn't coming out of me. And this is why people don't get recognized. This is why they don't get recognized. They have all this talent, or not even talent, but expertise, this knowledge. I mean, how many years have you had this knowledge of volunteering and working? And it's very, very obvious to me when I speak to you that you have a huge heart, right? I see it immediately, but yet something still holds you back from stepping into what you truly desire.
Yes, I've been told that several times.
Okay, well, I'm just telling you what I see, and it's just something that's obvious with you. Well, building on that strength. So, I've said it, several other people, I've got this big heart, taking that big heart and really starting to build around that, right? That's a gift. If you have a mercy heart, a kind, compassionate, generous, this is amazing with your expertise of the podcast world. And I'm just using you as an example. I'm sure that you have tons of listeners who are facing the same thing that you're facing. I think that you are speaking to a problem that so many people have, because they don't even recognize their own power. They don't recognize what they have within them. Yeah. Or they recognize that they have something, but they don't really, first of all, may not feel like it's worth saying. And that's where that confidence muscle, but confidence doesn't just come all overnight. Someone doesn't walk to me and say, I'm feeling insecure. And I say, well, okay, tomorrow you're going to feel confident. It doesn't work like that. You have to build the muscle. Okay. It's just like going to the gym. You got to commit to it. There will be times when you sink back into that old person and you have to pull yourself back up. All right. But you're still moving forward when you do that. Build that muscle. And as bigger that muscle gets, the bigger it can get. So this is what I meant earlier by, to get better at speaking, you have to speak. You have to do it. Force yourself. And in the beginning, it may not be so good.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, I get everything that you're saying. I do. I totally understand. I totally get it. But sometimes people who are maybe a little bit overconfident, don't they sound a bit vain or egotistical?
I do. But I do see what you're coming from, but I think that most of that comes from a lack of confidence, actually. So it's an overcompensation for feeling amazingly insecure on the inside. So it's their way of coping with a confidence problem, ultimately. And I've worked with people like that as well, where you have to tone back some of the things, and but most of the time they don't know they're coming across that way. And this is where what we're talking about with your body language, with that starts to become really, really important, because you think you're doing one thing and your audience thinks you're doing something completely different. So there has to be a resonating back and forth between you. There's a graph, and I use this all the time. There's a big circle that says how you see yourself right here, right? And how other people see you right here, okay? And you are kind of where the two meet. Who you actually, let me see, get my hands right.
Yeah,
who you actually Yeah, here we go. Who you actually are is the space where my fingers come together. So you're somewhere in between how you view yourself and how others view you. Neither one of those views are actually exactly correct. All right. So understanding that you're somewhere in the middle. So if you are not finding success in a certain area, then you have to find the problem and tweak it. This is where coach comes in, where they can say, this is why you're, working with someone recently who has a show that they're doing. This is why it's stalled out. Let's look at maybe what's happening that's creating a lack of expansion. Let's see what it is. And we talk about it, and sometimes it's a very easy solution. And they go, oh, I didn't realize that's how I was coming across, or that was really not my intention at all. And I have my mentor was a Broadway producer, very successful Tony award-winning producer. He did 12 very big shows on Broadway. Now, I'm sorry, 18 in 12 years. But the point I want to make is that the most valuable piece of advice he told me was, you can lie as an actress on the floor and beat your hands and cry, but if your audience isn't getting what you're throwing down, if they don't feel anything, then you're not doing your job.
Yeah, the audience is the template to how you are going. I mean, you can't really lie to an audience. It's too hard.
You can't. And it is the whole package. It's the whole package. Are your hands a giveaway that you're nervous? Are they giving you away? Are your eyes, where are they focused?
Yeah.
We have these little tics, these little things that we do that gives away our nervousness. And it's just a matter of learning that you're actually doing it. But first of all, you can't fix something that you don't know that you're doing that's hurting you. So there's that in overcoming nervousness. Why isn't this working? So a lot of times that insecurity actually comes from the fact that people have been trying things and it's not working for them. But sometimes it's the smallest little tweak that can make the biggest difference in someone's performance, in their ability to get clients, in their exposure, or in their money-raising efforts for charity, whatever your passion may be. It requires the use of your voice, and it requires you getting out of your living room and using your voice, unless you're on a podcast like you and going all the way around the world.
Julia, where can people find you if they want to work with you or just find out a little bit more about what you offer?
Well, I do have some links. I'm all over social media, first of all. You can go to Linktree under my name, Julia Langley, and that will have my links of ways to get in touch with me. All right. I also have a #1 best-selling book that I was a collaborator with. Yeah, that's on there as well. I am on the main, of course, social media, Facebook, Julia Langley, and Instagram, as you can see in the picture here, Cirque Singer Jules is my handle on Instagram. You can find me there, and LinkedIn as well. So any one of those places, please feel free to send me a message, to DM me, friend me. I'm very open. I love to take calls if people are really interested in having a conversation, finding out about their own roadmap to overcoming nervousness, overcoming fear, really stepping into their power. Because ultimately that's what it is, learning to use that superpower voice to achieve your goals, your results. So very open to that. And I have a website as well. So that's a lot of information, but julialangley.net. So
perfect. Yep. Just reach out to Julia and she'll steer you in the right direction to building more confidence to presenting. Julia, it's been an absolute pleasure. I would love it if you would share some wise words before we finish up today.
Absolutely. This is my wise words. I have so many things I want to share, but the main thing is, do it today. This is something that I had to learn. And this is something actually for 2023, I keep reminding myself too. Don't wait. Okay. It's hard. It's hard to make powerful decisions. All right. It's hard to step into your greatness or to step into really what your purpose is, who you're meant to be. It's hard, but it's way harder to look back a year from now, 2 years from now, and still be in the exact same place that you are. Do it. There is no day like today.
Absolutely, perfectly said. And yes, I've made a decision. I've got my vision board up there on the wall. 2023 is my year.
You know what? I believe you. Listen, you've got conviction in your voice. I hear it. So I can't wait to see.
I'm going to go and stalk you on social media now and press all those buttons, and I will talk to you again really soon, Julie. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me.
Pleasure's mine. Thank you for having me.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time. Talking with the Experts.